to my channel, The Transparent Homeschool. My name is Beth. I know I have short hair. I just got a haircut today. It was a long time coming. Today I am going to talk to you guys about the responses I get from people when they find out that we homeschool. This is going to be something, if you're new to homeschool, this is going to be something that you run into a lot. And these are I think I have 3. These are the top 3 reasons that I hear consistently over and over again. It's almost like when people find out you homeschool, they feel compelled for some reason to defend why they don't homeschool. And these are the 3 reasons that I found that people decide to always land on, okay? And like I said, you will have conversations like this. More than likely, you will get these responses. And so this is just how I very gently and politely respond to them. So the first one, I think for me, is just the biggest cop-out ever. So when people find out that I homeschool, they will normally say, wow, that is really great. Good for you. I just don't feel qualified enough to teach my kids. Because you're telling me that you're not qualified enough to teach your child to read. Or to teach your child what 2 + 2 is. Effectively, you are not qualified to do that. So if you're not qualified to teach a 5-year-old what 2 + 2 is, then how are you qualified to do your current job? I mean, honestly, really. Am I talking about being able to teach your child like calculus and trigonometry? Well, no, but you'll get there. You'll get there. Because what happens is as you teach, you learn also. And so you're almost on this journey like alongside your kid, getting them to where they need to go. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but like currently in the absolute like crisis of education in our country, they are hiring teachers that don't even have teaching degrees. I don't know if you knew this, but there are states that will hire people who are not degreed in education to come and teach children. So to say I don't feel qualified enough to teach my child is really not even a reason. They just don't know how to respond to that. The second reason that I get more often than not is, well, that's great, but my kids really love their school. They really love their teacher. My kids go to a really great school. If your child's school is a good school, like that's fine. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that the responsibility of you as the parent is just completely gone. If that is the only thing that keeps you from homeschooling your kids, if you want to homeschool your kids, then you need to homeschool your kids because you are allowing someone else to take your place as the main influence in their life. And that's not something parents should easily give up. We are seeing the effects of this very easily in our culture today as schools have now become a breeding ground for agenda and whatever else you want to say. And you can say, no, that's not true. It hasn't come to my kid's school yet. I disagree. I think that you need to really look at what your child is being taught, the books in their library, etc., etc. But it's more than that also. It's more than just what they're being taught. It's who they are around and what those peers, the level of influence that those peers have over your child. Again, when you homeschool, you are able to cultivate a circle of friends for your child that you know is going to make them a better person, not the opposite. The third response that I get, and I don't get this as much as the other 2, it's still one of the most common ones I've heard, but the other 2 are kind of for me, the more common ones. This comment hurts me on a very deep, personal, spiritual level, all right? You ready for it? I have heard it said so often, I don't think I could be around my kids that much. And my first response that wants to just fly out of my mouth is, oh, well then why did you have kids at all? I don't say that. I haven't said that yet. But why? Like, why is that even a thought? I don't think I could be around my kids all day. Your children, I hate to break it to you, are a direct reflection of your parenting. So if you can't stand to be around your kids, perhaps it's not their fault. Am I saying all kids are perfect and there's not going to be hard parenting days? That's not what I mean. What I mean is if you cannot stand to be around your kids like more than what you are in the 8 hours a day that they're at school, in maybe the like 3 to 4 hours a day you have with them, and then, asleep. Like if you can't stand to be around them for more than 4 hours, maybe that's a heart issue that you need to take into consideration. You need to understand why you don't want to be around your kid. Like, children are a huge blessing to life, and they are fun, and they're great. Is it a challenge to be a good parent? Yeah, it is, but it's a privilege and it's a responsibility that we have. So those are the 3 most common responses that I get when people find out that I homeschool. I'm very quickly going to go back through them and tell you how I respond. So the first one was, I don't feel qualified enough to be my child's teacher. I will say, well, I didn't either when I began. I had no clue what I was doing. And 7 years later, there are still things that I'm not sure of. They will be so disarmed at that they're like, oh. And really they don't know what to say. So then they'll normally say, well, do you plan to homeschool through high school? Yes, I do. I surely do. All the way up until they graduate. It's not like education is not just about books and subjects and doing well on tests. There's so much more to education. I want my child to be a well-rounded human. And academics aside, if I don't know how to teach trigonometry, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I will find a program that works for them. But how to be responsible, how to be a good friend, how to be a kind human, how to do household skills, life skills, financial skills, those are things that I can impart to my kids because I know how to do that, right? As an adult, you know what it takes to be an adult now. Here's what I know I'm going to teach you. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really understand financial fluency till I was much older than 18, because I didn't take a personal finance course in high school. It wasn't even offered in my high school. So, I mean, do I plan to homeschool my kids through high school? Absolutely I do, because there's so much more to teach them than just academics. Because academics in the grand scheme of life accounts for very little. Everything else is life skills, character, honesty, integrity. All of those things are so much more important than academics, and yet no one's teaching them. So that's how I respond gently to that response. The second one, my kids go to a really good school and everything. This is how I respond, and it's very closely related with the last one. When people say, oh, that's great, I would love to homeschool, but my kids go to a really great school and they just love their teacher. Wouldn't you want your kids to look at you the way that they look at their teacher? I love the fact that I got to teach my children to read. I love the fact that I was able to teach my children to do math, that I still get to teach them to explore and to discover new things. It gives me the deepest joy to be able to be the one to facilitate that learning in my kid. But to say that oh, they love their school, well, that's fine. But is their school preparing them for adulthood, or is it just teaching them academics that someone told them to teach them and an agenda that they are being forced to teach? Because I can guarantee you, when you start to look at these things, maybe your kid's school isn't as great as you think it is. Just because they have the highest test scores in your area doesn't necessarily mean their goal in being educators is to make your child the best well-rounded human that they can possibly do. because there's a lot of politics that come into school management. And I don't know if you know that, but you should look into it. The last and the most devastating response that I get when people find out that I homeschool is, oh, wow, like, I don't know if I could be around my kids that much. I don't really know how to respond to that, because there's no gentle way to say you're a terrible human. Maybe that's a little judgmental, but you're a terrible human. Why would you have children and then turn around and say, I can't stand to be around them? Like, most of the time, I just say, oh, wow, like, I love being around my kids. My kids are really great. And it also gives me a chance to brag on them, because I feel like in the homeschool world, we don't brag on our kids enough, right? So this is a perfect opportunity to just lift them up in encouragement. Like, I love being around my kids all day. They're funny. Like, they ask really great questions. We have super cool discussions. Like, I love being able to see them grow. I love being able to see them learn and discover new things. But to just flat out say, I don't know if I could be around my kid that long. Or like, I think I need my alone time. Well, that is having a selfish heart. And it's not being willing to serve others. So, again, that one is very deeply, like, offensive to me. And you can still say that, that's fine. But, like, to me, it's almost like, why did you decide to have kids in the first place? Like, if you can't stand to be around your kids, why did you have kids? I don't know. That's harsh, but that's what I got. But you can respond gently to that. No matter how you are thinking or feeling on the inside, you ultimately have the control over your thoughts and responses. So you can just go with something like, oh, really? Like, oh, I'm sorry, but I love being around my kids all day. And I think you'll find that once you get into a rhythm, you will too. That is a great way to respond to that. So that was just a really, really quick explanation of the top 3 most common like reactions I get when people find out that I homeschool is, oh, well, that's good for you, but I don't feel qualified. Or, oh, wow, that sounds so, I wish we could homeschool, but like, my kids go to a really good school and they love their teacher. Or the worst one is, I don't know how you do it. I could not stand to be around my kid that long. Those are the 3 that I get most often. And they all kind of tug at different heartstrings, but those are just the ones that I get. And then, like I just said, those are there are a few ways to respond gently to that. But my delivery was frank, but there's really no other way to get around some of those things. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.